it's Eleanor from the National Leprechaun Museum with a story for you today. You obviously heard of the leprechaun, but you may not have heard of their cousin, the clurichaun. The clurichaun is mainly known for a fondness for the drink, shall we say. They love haunting and spending time in bars and pubs and wine cellars and breweries, just drinking them all dry. You know, as Irish people, sometimes you wonder where all these stereotypes that other countries have of us come from, but on the other hand, sometimes we don't really do ourselves any favours, do we? Well, this story is about a man who unwittingly becomes the servant of a clurichaun and the adventure that they have. There was a young man by the name of Billy McDaniel, and Billy himself did enjoy a couple of drinks every weekend or so and hanging out at the pub with his mates. And one night he's walking home from such a night at the pub, and it's a cold December night with the full moon shining high in the sky, and then Billy's wrapping his jacket around himself as he's walking home, and he says to himself, "I would love a sup of whiskey. It would warm me straight up, and I wish I had some here with me." "Is that your wish?" says a voice in front of him. Billy looks down and stops, and there's a clurichaun with red ruddy cheeks, wearing silver buckles on his shoes as big as himself, and holding a glass that seems to be his own size, filled to the brim with what looks to be very fine whiskey. Now, Billy knows that this is a clurichaun, and he knows he shouldn't get mixed up in any of the business of the good people. It's bad company to be keeping. But he loves whiskey and he's really cold. So he takes the glass that's offered to him and he says, "Here's to your health," and he downs it all in one gulp. "Well, thanks very much for that. That was the finest whiskey I've ever tasted," he says. "You're very welcome, Billy. And now, since you're a gentleman, open your wallet and pay me for that lovely whiskey." "Ah," says Billy, I haven't a penny on me, haven't I? Spent it all in the pub, but it's such a cold night, you wouldn't leave me out here on my own, would you? No, you'll take pity on me, won't you?" "I will not," says the clurichaun. "If you won't pay me, then you will be my servant for 7 years. Come with me." And somehow when the clurichaun turns and walks away, Billy is compelled almost to his feet, moving by some power that's not his, to follow him. And Billy ends up following the clurichaun up and down hedge, briar and hedge. I said hedge again. Up and down ditches and forests and up and down fields until the morning dew has fallen on the grass and the sun is rising. And Billy drops down to the ground in front of the clurichaun. He's exhausted, and the clurichaun says to him, "Away you go home now, Billy. Make sure to meet me in this field at twilight. I'll give you your next work." And Billy does so. He goes home and he sleeps off the night he's had, and he's almost thinking to himself, he shouldn't be paying attention to a clurichaun. He's a gentleman. He can't be any clurichaun servant, but he's a little afraid of that sheer glint in the clurichaun's eye. He doesn't want him going after him. So when the sun starts setting, he puts on his shoes and goes out to the field where he agreed to meet the clurichaun. And the clurichaun is there, and he says, "Saddle up some horses and we'll go into town." And Billy's like, "Okay, where's your stable?" "Stable? There are fine horses here." And he drags Billy to the side of the field where there are some rushes growing. And he gets Billy to tear some of the rushes off the side of the field. And he hops his leg over one and gets Billy to hop his leg over the other one. And the clurichaun says, "Borum, borum, borum," and the rushes swell into horses and rear up and begin running, galloping across the fields. The thing is, this is Billy's first time riding a horse. Had previously been a rush, and he didn't know what he was at all. So when his rush turned into a horse, Billy ends up facing the wrong way, facing towards the tail, and that's all he can do because the horse is running galloping so fast that he can't even turn around, so he's just forced to hold on to the tail for dear life, following the clurichaun. Eventually they stop. They come near a castle in County Limerick called Cargogunnel, which they say was built by Brian Boru. And they get off the horses, and the clurichaun leads Billy inside, and they climb up into the rafters. There's a wedding feast going on below. A beautiful young couple have just gotten married, and they're dancing and feasting away. It's a beautiful sight, and the clurichaun is watching it all with a glint in his eye, and he points out the bride to Billy. See her, the bride. That's British Keeper. A young girl of 19, comes from decent people. She's tall and comely. Did you know, Billy, I'm 1,000 years old come Wednesday, and I think between you and me, it's high time I got married. Fair enough, says Billy, who hadn't thought of marrying yet and wanted to be polite. And the clurichaun says, I'm going to take Bridget for my own wife. Are you now? But she's already married. That doesn't matter. She'll be mine before the night is out, said the clurichaun. And in the middle of everything, Bridget sneezed. Achoo! And now, the usual thing you say when someone sneezes is, bless you. But on this occasion, no one said it to her. See, the priest was there, the priest who performed the wedding. He was at the wedding feast, and they all thought he was the man to do it, but the priest had just taken in a huge bit of bacon and cabbage into his mouth and hadn't swallowed yet. So his mouth was full, he couldn't say bless you, no one else said it, and it went unremarked. And everyone else moved on with the party, but the clurichaun only started laughing, and he said, British Keeper will be mine before the night is out. If she sneezes 2 more times without someone saying God bless you, then she belongs to me. Oh, said Billy. This isn't the night he thought he'd have at all. He was half hoping that he and the clurichaun would go down and join the wedding feast and drink the open bar dry. But he was meant to watch this young beautiful girl with her whole life ahead of her be taken by the clurichaun and be obliged to marry a 1,000-year-old fairy. He wasn't sure. That's when Bridget sneezed again. Achoo! But she blushed so hard and it was so quiet, no one noticed. And no one said bless you. And the clurichaun rubbed his palms in delight. The clurichaun and Billy watched an hour or so of the wedding feast go on, with beautiful dancing and speeches. The wedding cake was served. They were all having such a wonderful time, and the unease and discomfort inside of Billy grew and grew as he saw the clurichaun's feet dancing and tapping away against the bow of the building, getting more excited, looking down on his prize, the bride. Until eventually it happened again. Achoo! Bridget sneezed. And there was a silence in the room, and before the clurichaun could jump down, Billy said, bless you! And the clurichaun turned and said, by God, Billy McDaniel, you are the worst servant in the world! You're fired! And the clurichaun disappeared. But not before giving Billy a huge kick in the back that he tumbled over the rafters and ended up falling smack face down onto the cake. The wedding party was shocked, was aghast at this man having dropped from the heavens. But once Billy explained what had happened, once explained the story and how he had saved Bridget from marrying this 1,000-year-old clurichaun, they gladly welcomed him as part of the feast and gave him all the drink he wanted. Well, not all the drink he might have wanted the night before. Billy decided he was going to, drink in moderation from now on. And that's the story of Master and Man. The clurichaun being the master and Billy being the man. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a side of leprechauns and clurichauns that we don't normally get to see. But remember, whenever anyone around you sneezes, you gotta get in there with your bless you before they're taken away. Have a great week. Bye.